Listeners tuning in deep like the sea. From the pitch to the mic, we share our dreams. Voices echoing loud, hear the passion's themes.
And then
Passion
one
and
of these
knowledge,
kids just
that's
randomly.
our goal. Stories unfold, let's take control. From the field we rise, let the voices be heard. Every insight shared, every single word. Football's the game, but
So my
wisdom's
whole
the prize.
philosophy
Join the conversation,
behind
it's
it.
time to rise. Time to rise. Coaches drop knowledge, seasoned players shine. Directors with vision, sharing their line. From strategy to heart, it's all on display. Unfolding the journey, every pass, every play.
Hey, Coach Nicolas Robertson. Thanks so much for
Good
coming
morning.
on this podcast with me.
Hey man, pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, I know you're a young coach and you've had a lot of success, right? But
Yeah,
before we get to that point, let's go back to the beginning. Can you take us on a journey back to your childhood and share some of your earliest, most cherished memories of playing soccer?
absolutely. First of all, yeah, thanks for having me. And I started playing when I was about 4 years old. It's just a family passion. My whole family has always played. I started playing travel football when I was 13. Didn't have too much success as a player. Um, but I did learn from some of the best coaches in the area I grew up in, South Florida. Um, but I knew pretty quickly I wasn't gonna be a professional player. And I can remember a couple watershed moments where I really realized, you know what, I'm not gonna make it. And so my coaching journey started in the middle of my playing journey. I started
Okay.
coaching at 16 actually.
Wow.
Yeah, in the middle of one of my travel seasons, my sophomore year of high school, I started coaching for volunteer hours, and from then I just kicked on, and now it's my favorite thing to do.
Okay. You say you grew up from a family that loves the sport, right?
Absolutely.
Do your parents play soccer or they coach as well? Your
Well,
siblings?
not my parents didn't play, but my mom's father was one of he was a great player in Jamaica. Never played for the national team, but he played for the all schools team in high school. My my cousin, his grandpa also was one of those kind of players. Sorry, not his grandpa, his dad was also one of
Okay.
those kind of players. Um, a high school all boys team. So there's a bit of heritage in my family for the sport, but not really at the highest level.
Okay, okay. What about your siblings? Did you have siblings they play soccer as well?
Yes, actually, I have two sisters, but the one who's just 2 years younger than me, she actually got a scholarship to go and play in college. She played for University of Southern Mississippi, and then she also played for the University of North Florida.
Wow.
So she was the better player, but I'll also take some credit for that with my coaching.
Okay. Oh, so you helped you coach a little bit there?
Absolutely, we
So
would
she
train together all the time.
so she owes you her being in college in up there now.
Absolutely, 100%. That's why she got to send me back a jacket every time she goes to school. One of those jackets got to come back for me.
That's great. That's good. What was it up what how was it like growing up with the beautiful game in those formative years?
Man, I think from it as long as I can remember watching, so from about 2008, it just became my life. Like one day I just randomly I've been playing for longer, but I think I think it's just watching Manchester United for the first time.
Okay.
So it was just really random. I came home one day, and United were playing against Arsenal.
Okay.
The game where Ronaldo scored that 40-yard free kick, and they were wearing the blue jersey,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
I just randomly came home and stumbled across that semifinal, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing! I love this. Ronaldo is awesome. These guys are awesome. And my mom let me stay home that on the day of the final so that I could watch the game. Like she let me
Okay.
stay home so I could watch the final, Manchester United versus Barcelona. And unfortunately, that turned out to be Ronaldo's last game for the club, and we lost 2-0. But ever since then, man, the game has just been everything to me, like literally
Okay.
everything.
What has it?
Yeah.
Okay. 2008 was when I think the Dream Team Barcelona had the Tiki Taka, all that. Did you become a fan to them? Because I know a lot of people became a fan in this era to Barcelona.
Well, me, honestly, my relationship with Barcelona at that time, I was 10.
Okay.
So I was just like, oh, it's Ronaldo versus Messi. I like Ronaldo. And so I just chose to be anti-Messi. For about
Oh,
10 years, I was anti-Messi,
okay.
anti-Barca. I didn't like anything about Barcelona, even though I couldn't deny it was a beautiful style of play. But at the time, I was more into just winning and Alex Ferguson and just grit and hard work and just win the game. I don't care if it looks good or not, just
Just
win.
win it. Yeah.
But obviously as a coach, my mind has changed a little bit over the
Okay.
years.
So do you still follow Man United or do you follow like Cristiano Ronaldo only?
I 100% still follow Manchester United as painful as it can get.
What
I
do you think's going?
I
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, no, no. I was gonna say I actually I have a Manchester United tattoo that I got in 2021 or 22 when Ralph Rangnick was still the interim coach.
Oh, okay.
So if that's not true love for your club, I don't know what is.
Man, that's real passion right there, real love for the game.
Yeah, man.
What do you think's going on with them? With Manchester United, they haven't been able to win that title again, or
You know what? I'm a little optimistic about the new ownership structure.
Mhm.
I think maybe once we get a more qualified manager in position with the new ownership structure, I think maybe then we'll start to see some progress. But it's been 12 years now, so
Yeah.
I try not to get too enthusiastic or optimistic about anything because they just throw it away. So
Um, do you not like Eric Ten Hagen?
in the beginning, I did. In the beginning, I was enthusiastic about him, but I also I had a really big problem with how he fell out with Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh,
And
okay.
not just because of how I feel about Ronaldo or the club itself, but more so because when it came, like that you heard about what happened with Ronaldo's daughter over the that
The
summer,
summer. Yeah,
and
yeah.
then he returned to training late. And I think what a lot of people are kind of overlooking is how curt Ten Hag was about Ronaldo being missing from training. He was
Hmm.
just like, "Oh, nobody can miss preseason. Nobody can miss preseason. It's too important. Anybody who misses preseason is gonna have to, crawl their way back." But then also Anthony came in that summer.
Hmm.
He skipped his whole preseason with Ajax, and then we welcomed him with open arms, threw him in the starting lineup, and we all know how that ended. So, really, it's my thing with Ten Hag is he comes off as a little hypocritical and confused.
Okay. Now you mentioned Anthony or Anthony. Do you
Yeah.
like, because I've seen some memes on him, where he's like coming in, like, what do you think about him?
Ah, I'm not sure he's worth all the trouble he's caused. I'm not sure he's worth the tarnishing of a great club like Manchester United's reputation, and I'm not sure he was ever worth £100 million. But also, it does go to show what a manager who believes in you,
Hmm.
how they'll go to bat for you. Because That from my understanding, that was something that Eric Ten Hag pushed very hard for
Okay.
was to sign him. So,
Right.
but
Well, he's on the bench
yeah, I
a
don't
lot
think he's worth
now.
it. Yeah, if he can make it to the bench, but I'm seeing reports that they wanna sell him. They're ready to cut their losses, and
Hmm.
honestly, I think it's about a year too late to be trying to sell him.
Okay. If you were given the reins to the Manchester United team, what players would you bring?
Oof, to bring in, the first thing I would say we'd have to bring in a left back. We'd have to bring in a left back who's healthy because Luke Shaw has played more for England over the last 6 months than Manchester United, which I think
Wow.
is it's a little disappointing. And he's always kind of had a really horrible injury record, and I would never ever say a professional player isn't giving their all to come back,
Hmm.
but the way he kind of forced himself to be ready for the Euros, I would have liked to have seen that same commitment, forcing himself to be ready for Manchester United. And I'm not even one of the ticket buying supporters. I'm all the way over here in Hollywood, Florida. Um, I would just like to see our left back on the pitch more often, and I think
Okay.
we'd be a more complete team. Because that's one thing I'll give Ten Hag. There's been a lot of injuries. There
Hmm.
definitely has been a lot, like an obscene amount of injuries. He can't call on his best team, but yeah, a left back would be honestly. I think that's really the only positionally, as far as quality,
Okay.
no, we've got everybody, but we just need to have a left back on the field, a left-footed
Okay.
left back on the field at some point. But I wouldn't really. It's not the players I think that need changing. I think it's a refresh to the approach.
Okay. It's just a whole new manager come in there.
So I would, for me, and I've noticed this in my own team recently. I'm
Okay.
going to tell on myself a little bit.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was kind of playing almost the same exact tactics. So if you watch Manchester United play, you'll notice that their defensive line will sit right behind, right under the half. They won't cross the half. Um, and then the will play with almost like a double pivot. One of those will go and support the attack and keep the attacking shape, and the other one is going to stay back and screen the defense. And it's also up to them in that moment to decide who's going to do what. And then so yeah, we're building nice attacks around the final third. But then once we lose that ball, it's just a quick, like once you play over that counter press, it's always a 40 to 50 yard recovery run for the attackers and midfielders.
Okay.
And so it's designed to protect the center backs because they're slow.
Right.
So I understand why he did it, but I'm also seeing why it's a horrible risk to take because all that space that you're leaving in between your defensive line and your midfield, that's for an attacking player that's ultimately what you're looking for in the game. You're running 40 yards towards goal, facing the goal. You got defenders running back. Like it's a recipe for disaster, tactically. And so I think just a simple adjustment, having a little more faith in your defensive line and pushing them up, uh, and closing that space between the defense and the midfield. I think that will go a long way in solving some of these problems for Manchester United.
Okay. So don't say back too much, but push up a little bit more.
Yeah, push the line up. And just don't leave that space. Have a little faith in the center back.
Okay. I haven't watched them play recently. I like Arsenal personally.
Mm,
So so I watch Arsenal. I don't watch a lot of Manchester United, but if that's what they got to do, push up a little bit
oh, for
more.
sure, for sure.
So so earlier right now, you mentioned you started around 16 at coaching, right?
Yeah.
So what initially sparked your passion for coaching or transition into coaching?
Uh, I don't know what made me want to do it for a living. I don't know what made me want to commit to it fully. I do remember when I started coaching, it was me and one of a couple of my friends. I was the head coach because I was, the most invested. I had the most time to give, and I think at the time I really enjoyed having that to do with my friends as well.
Okay.
But the part, the part I'm into now, and this is 10 years on from that, is I like I really like the developing. Like I like developing young people. I like mentoring young people. Um I think before it was more so just an extension of my love for the game. But but
Okay.
but now I really do have an actual passion for leading. Like, I think that's what's developed over the last 10 years.
Okay. So at the beginning, you said, you knew you were not gonna make it as a professional soccer player.
Yeah.
Is that why you transitioned into coaching? This way, you could still be connected to the game, in a sense.
100%, 100%. It was actually a quote from Jose Mourinho where he said the same exact thing. He knew very quickly he wasn't going to be a professional. Um, so he started coaching, and like I said, man, I'm addicted to the game of soccer. So whatever way I can be involved and be a meaningful part of the game, I'll do it because I'll tell people sometimes just watching a game isn't going to do it for me.
Okay.
Um, I like to feel it. I like to feel everything.
Right, right. So where does all this passion come from, Nicholas? Because like you say, one game does not feel enough. You want to be involved. You have this tattoo of a Manchester United club. Where's all this passion coming from, Nicholas?
Uh, I would say I think I've always been like a passionate person about towards the things that I really enjoy, the people that I love, and the things that I love. Um, and soccer has just always been it's just been a constant in my life. Like even before I was watching it, I remember I always enjoyed having my games on the weekend when I was playing recreational. I remember um yeah, like all I could look forward to was game day. Game day was the biggest thing for me. I love everything about game day. I love Saturday morning waking up super early, watching the first Premier League fixture of the day, then going out to my game, playing my game, then coming home and watching La Liga, then watching MLS at night. Um, it's just I can't imagine doing anything other than this. I can't
O-
imagine doing anything other than just football as much as I can.
Okay. So, like you said, you don't see yourself doing anything else. But let's say you were not involved in soccer. What else would you see yourself doing?
It's funny you should ask that because I just recently was talking to someone about this. I think one of my players actually, because he said to me, he said, "Coach, I know you said that you don't want to be a teacher in the school, but you kind of are a teacher already." And it's true. I kind of am an educator, so I
Mhm.
think I would have done something along the lines of education. My mom is was it my kindergarten teacher, and she
Oh, okay.
worked as a middle school teacher by where we live. I think maybe there was a potential for me to be an educator somewhere down the line.
Oh, okay. So you see yeah, because as a soccer coach, you in a way are a teacher.
Yeah, 100%. And now even more so, I've become more aware of my ability to teach. So I early on in my career, it was more so just like, okay, I know this about soccer. Let me tell you what I know about soccer and let me show you how to do it too. And for about 3, 4 years, that's kind of how I got by in my volunteer coaching job. I would just, you go out there, you plan your session ahead of time. You write down a little notebook. We're going to work on this today. We're going to work on that today, whatever. Um, it was always something quick before practice. But as I did my coaching licenses, I'm starting to realize like there's techniques to teaching. There's a whole science and psychology to it. Um, And I feel like now I'm a lot more aware of how and when I'm doing that than I was before. It's like
Okay.
before I kind of stumbled into, oh, people would be like, oh, you're pretty good at this. You did a good job teaching the team and you did a good job showing them this and that. And I wouldn't even really know what I was doing. I'm just going out there, coaching. But now, I can see the layers. I can see the psychology behind teaching a person, teaching a child. Um, yeah, it's so that's how it's changed for me now.
Okay. Has your philosophy changed as you've gotten older, as you more involved in coaching now?
No. So as far as my coaching philosophy, um, so I mentioned earlier that I had the privilege of playing for some of the best coaches in the
Hmm.
state, David Cunningham, Alvin James, Mark Chin, um, and these are three really formative coaches in my coaching career because there's still people I talk to today. Andre Wall, like these are guys that I really look up to, and and they're big. They're big here in Florida, and some even bigger in the greater U.S. soccer landscape. But I didn't always have the privilege of having coaches like that.
Okay.
So I also had, so I'm 26 and
Hmm.
I coach under 17s. So those kids are only 9 to 10 years younger than me.
Right.
And in my U18 year, my final year of travel soccer, I had a coach who was 25.
Okay.
Big, he was older than us, whatever, and we had respect for him as a coach because he's a coach. He's the biggest guy out here, he's the coach. So he had that kind of respect, got that respect from us. But uh, I never always. So he's not a coach that really showed respect. And I had a lot of coaches growing up here in the part of South Florida I'm in. We have a huge Latino influence, a huge Hispanic
Yeah.
influence, and so a lot of our coaches are going to be Hispanics,
Hmm.
which is, par for the course. It's representative of our community. And I didn't always have a fair shake of the dice to to not to get too loaded into that part. So my whole philosophy behind being a coach is I'm going to be the coach that I never had.
Okay.
I'm going to be the coach that serves everybody, not not just the ones who speak the same language as I do. Because now I have fully Spanish speaking kids that I coach, and
Okay.
I do whatever I can. I equip myself with whatever I can to help everybody because I'm not gonna leave behind the kids that look like me, and I'm not gonna leave behind any kid just because he doesn't look like me.
Okay.
Because having been on the other side of that for the majority of my youth soccer career in South Florida, I have that experience. I know what that can do to you. I know how that can hinder your chances to go further in the game. I'm not going to
Right.
sit here and say that it's solely because of that why I didn't go further, but I do know what effect a supportive coach can have on you and what having someone in your corner to go and speak to people for you and open doors for you. I know what that can do for you. So that's who I try to be as a coach. Like just be the coach I never had.
Okay. So when you transition, because I know you said be the coach that you never had, right? But
Yeah.
when you transition yourself into coaching, like, okay, I'm going to do this now, was there a coach that you went up to and be like, hey, can I get your advice on how do I coach? Or so who was that coach for you?
Um, so that would be my under 15 coach, David Cunningham. And he is to this day probably one of the most special people to me. And it's not because he wasn't particularly very nice to me when I was his player. I got benched. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Mhm.
I was 5'5", weighed 97 pounds or something like that when I was
Wow.
14.
Okay.
Um, and I wanted to be Nani. I wanted to be Ronaldo. So I was just out there. I'm like, yeah, coach, I'm a left winger. I could play as a striker if you want. I like to attack. He said, yeah, you're gonna play center mid for me, and you're gonna come off the bench too. And so I would play maybe like 10 minutes a game as a
Hmm.
kid. Um, and like I said, he wasn't very nice to me. And he never ever explained to me, why he did that to me. Like while I was a player, he never told me why.
Okay.
And so when I started coaching volunteer recreational coaching,
Hmm.
I went to him to say, "Hey, can I watch your practices? Can I study you? Can I, I'm about to start taking this seriously." And from then he's been super supportive. Like he's he coaches at the same club. I don't Not the same club as me, but the same club that I was at when he was my coach. And he's
Okay.
trying to get me to come back. He really wants me to come back over there and coach with him. Um, yeah, I just can't. I've got too good of a thing going where I'm at right now. But
Okay.
yeah, he's one that I went to and I still go to. And he's just a real formative part of my football journey.
You think he's been like a very influential person in terms of coaching and your soccer career?
Mhm. Like even as my coach, like him being as hard on me as he was, like that taught me the value of like go out and get it yourself. Like this guy's gonna keep putting you on the. We'll always do bench versus starters, at practices,
Yep.
and I'm always on the bench. I'm always on the bench team, but it's like he put me up against the other left winger on the team every single time, and I learned to prove myself that way. He put like and that other left winger actually is one of my best friends, and so it just that healthy competition. And it's not until I'm a coach now that he tells me, he's like, "You think I'm not doing that stuff on purpose? You don't think
Hmm.
I you don't think I knew what that was gonna do for you? You don't think So I take a lot of things from him as far as how he taught me, but it's like I try to change it. Like again, it goes back into
Hmm.
being the coach I never had, because in the time I'm not gonna sit here and say I appreciated that stuff. I
Of
was
course.
angry.
Yeah, of
I was
course.
mad about it, but that's where I try and change it. So like in the whole modern coaching landscape, we have to really be uh careful with the people that we're in care of. So
Hmm.
we have to understand the mental impact, the psychological and emotional impact of the decisions we make. Like, oh, you're not gonna start this weekend, bud. What's that gonna do to his week? What's that gonna do to him when he goes to school? What's that gonna do in the face of his peers who now know he's not gonna start?
Hmm.
Um, and that's the mix that or the blend I'm trying to reach, is that being that kind of being tough on them, and what's the word, manufacturing adversity
Okay.
rather than creating trauma.
Okay.
Like, because a lot of things I went through as a kid, uh I can see, like, I was a little bit different mentally back then than most of the
Hmm.
kids these days. A lot of things that my coaches did to me, they would never get away with in today's game.
Okay.
So adapting those practices from the guys that came before, and finding what works and fits in today's social climate.
Okay. I I always think that you should always get the good stuff, and the bad stuff, and change it up, you know,
Mhm.
from any person you meet, because we can all always learn something from everybody, even if it's a bad thing, like you said, I don't like how this coach treated me, so I'm gonna change it up a little bit.
Right, right, exactly. Just what works for you, what works for the people that you're serving ultimately. You know,
Hmm.
um, a lot of it is meeting people halfway. Like I had one of my under 17 say to me, he's like, "Coach, you treat this guy different to me." I said, "I treat all of you differently. There's no way I'm going to treat all of you the same, because You're not all the same person at all. Um, and it's just yeah, just meeting all these kids halfway, and you can see like in my experience, I've seen the difference. Like when you meet people halfway, when you show that understanding, that empathy, when you lead with empathy, you get more out of people.
Okay.
And I learned something in second grade. I had a guidance counselor in second grade, and this has stuck with me all the way since then.
Okay.
She said the word empathy has the letters E and M at the front. And if you switch those letters around, you get the word me. And empathy is all about how would it make me feel. And that changed my life to this day. That's something I live by.
Okay. So like in that scenario, right, where he would play you at a different position, how would you tell that to your as your players now?
This is a good one. I I I had a left winger, and I just recently moved him to really the same exact transition that I had to make, right?
Okay.
To from left winger to box midfield. And I go about this by I try to make the kid feel as important as possible. I say, you're this is the kind of player I think you are and the kind of player you can be. These are your attributes. This is what you're good at. And this is why I think you'd also be a good fit for this position.
Okay.
Like it would never it should never be about anybody else. So I would never say, well, Johnny's not doing good here. So I think I want to try you out as a center mid. Like that would never be it would never be in my thinking.
Hmm.
And it is never gonna be how I explain that to a kid. And I'm never gonna just, oh, you like to be a left winger? Well, I don't care. Here you're gonna be a center mid. Like it's never about that. It's you another thing that I learned from second grade, from
Hmm.
Mary Poppins. A
Okay.
spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. So yeah, you're gonna have to give bad news. You're gonna have to give hard conversations. But you gotta be a little bit kind hearted. You gotta, like I said, meet that guy halfway. Understand this kid wants to be a left winger for X, Y, and Z reason. You have seen something else on the football field. Maybe at the end of it, maybe once you present this to the kid in a gentle way or a more respectful way, an empathetic way, he's gonna be more excited to do it. He's gonna feel better about doing it because you just made him feel really important. Like, oh, I want you to play this position because you're really fast. You cover a lot of ground. You attack and defend in equal intensity. That's why I'd like to try you out in this position. Can we try that out? And you get more out of the kids that way. I think because ultimately,
Okay.
yeah, as the head coach, you do make the decisions, but it's not really your game. You know,
Right. Right.
it, it's for them. So I try my best. Like I do have a bit of an ego to me, but on game day the ego goes away. When it comes to the game, that the ego has to go away. It's not your game. It's just not.
Okay. Now, would you expect that player to come to let's say you switch a player from left wing to left back. Would you
Mhm.
expect him to come out to you and tell you, "Hey, coach, why are you switching me?" Or would you just go up to him and be like, "Hey, this is why I'm changing you."
Uh Depends on the play. Because
Okay.
I have some that they'll they respond to me in a different way from the other one. So some just look to me as an authoritative figure, and I
Okay.
can just be that. I can just say, "Hey, you go do this for me," and then I'll explain it afterwards. I'll talk to them because I know they're like that soldier type. They'll just,
Hmm.
okay, coach said to do it, I'm gonna go do it, and they go do it, and then afterwards I'll be like, hey, so, and I ask them, do you know why? Like I'll make a teaching moment of it. Do you know why I moved you to left wing or left back? And they'll be like, no, or yeah, and then you explain it. But then, so some kids you might have to, you already know you're gonna have to have that conversation before. like
Okay.
especially with like under 10s. Like my under 10s are their moods are so volatile, you know? So you got to
Okay.
be really, really careful. Um, you just if you have a kid like that, you go and tell him straight up, you know, it's like, hey, you want it's like giving him a warning, you know, give him a
Mhm.
warning, prepare him for that. And again, that's where that whole spoonful of sugar comes in. Because if I can convince you of, you know, why it is I want you to do this, and you feel important because I told you, you can do this. You're really good at this, so this is why I need you here. Especially with young kids, but people shouldn't underestimate the impact of or what a 17-year-old boy's ego is really like. Because
Mhm.
you tell that guy, man, you were amazing out there today. He'll feel that way. He'll feel like Superman for the rest of the day.
Yeah, yeah.
I know I did. So, and I guess I do have that luxury that it wasn't too long ago that I was their age, less than 10 years ago. So,
Okay.
um, that helps a lot with the delivery of bad news or a hard conversation.
Okay. You mentioned previously, right, that you treat every player differently.
Yeah,
In order to do that, you must get to know each player differently.
hmm
You connect with each player differently, though.
you just gotta talk to him. You know,
Okay.
I I try to make it a point. There should be nobody on my team that we know as the shy guy or the quiet one. Like,
Mhm.
and I'm very careful about how I do this because you never want to come on too strong, especially with introverted kids. And I'm saying this as an introverted kid.
Okay.
Um, because you can mess them up that way by forcing them to try and be part of the group. But I it's not something I really take much notice of when I do it. It just, you know, over time it's just like, okay, cool. I can talk to everybody. I realize like I'm in a space now where all these kids trust me. All of them can talk to me about you know, almost anything. It's I wouldn't even know how to like how I do it. I wouldn't know how to
Okay.
explain that.
Okay.
But it, the personal connection, man, it's important. You gotta talk to your guys,
Okay.
100%.
Do you create that space like before practice or during practice or after practice? Where would you create the space for them to come talk to you?
I try to always be available. So I I'm at the field an hour and a half before my first practice of the day, and I stay up to 30 minutes after my second practice of the day. So I'm always around the club. I'm always there for the kids to talk to me. So if they have a sibling on another team, you know, I'll see them around. Um, just kind of. So, like I said, I was an introverted kid. I think as a coach,
Hmm.
it's almost like I put on a superhero outfit, you
Okay.
know, because I walk around the club and I know everybody, not just my players. I know players from teams that have nothing to do with me. People just see me around the club. I just say hello to everybody. Um, and I, you know, I think that's a testament to the club I'm at. You know, I really do always say that we have a real, actual family feel about it. Um, but I'm always there, so those kids are they're always able to see me. They're always able to come up and talk to me. If I see my player at the field on, you know, on an off day, I'm gonna go talk to him. I'm gonna be like, "Hey, how you doing, man? How's everything going?" Because that's how you get to know them. I try and make that space wherever possible. Like if there's a break in play or a water break, I'm usually talking to one or two of the guys. Like I try to keep it what's the casual. I try to keep it
Okay.
very casual, as intense as I can be on the training pitch. Still very casual. You ask my players, I'm laughing and joking the majority of the time, even sometimes even at their expense when they're not doing their best. You know, I'll even present it in the form of a joke. So just to keep it light enough because at the end of the day, these are children we're working with.
Of course. Absolutely. So you're always there. They always see you. You know, that's where you provide. So it's not just a practice for you. It's like anytime you get a chance, you create this space for them to come talk to you. This way makes it easier, right?
Yeah, 100%. They like I think that's why we're as close as we are. As a group, also that player coach relationship. Um, I you really do get out what you put in to to anything and everything. But for me, especially in this profession, if you put in the work, if you put in and that's not just planning your training sessions, or doing the licenses. Like if you put in the work, you go and talk to people and meet them halfway, you get so much out of it. Like they will develop more when they're happy and they're taken care of and they're comfortable than and challenged. So when I say comfortable, I don't mean unchallenged. I don't mean, okay, we're going through the motions, we're just gonna do a rondo and then we're gonna scrimmage, and then I don't mean comfortable like that. I mean comfortable as in, oh, this is my home field. This is my coach. This is our practice. I love to be here. I look forward to being here after school or whatever, you know? Comfortable, but in that challenging environment where you're constantly pushing them to develop. um you get twice as much impact, I think. Whereas if they're just uncomfortable, like, yeah, I mean, if you do the work, you're gonna get better. But are you enjoying this? And if you're enjoying this, are you gonna go and do more of it? If you're gonna go and do more of it, you're gonna get more of it. So
Okay.
it's all about what you put in, for sure.
Okay. Is that the reason you got your coaching license? To become a better coach or
Well, yeah, 100%. I needed to learn. Like I needed to understand what is it that I'm doing. Because when I started in recreational, I don't think I did my grassroots license until maybe 5 years, 4 or 5 years into that. Maybe 4 years. Let's call it 4 years. And now, granted, I would write down my sessions on a little note. As a matter of fact, I have the notebook sitting right here. This little
okay.
notebook used to have all my sessions in it. And I'm really doing it from memory. I'm basically doing the drills from how I remember doing them as a kid, or how I did it just 2 days ago because I had practice 2 days ago as a player. Um, but I wasn't getting as much results out of like developing the kids as I wanted. So I
Mhm.
was like, how can I go about that? And then I found out about the licenses. I didn't even know that there were coaching licenses. So I
Okay.
found out about them. I started doing the grassroots licenses, and I think it was during the D license actually. So I'm not ashamed to say during the grassroots license when I first started doing it, I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna knock these all out quick as possible, and then just keep advancing. I've completely changed my mindset on that now, because I'm trying to get better at my craft. I'm trying to get better at actually doing the coaching thing.
Okay.
So during my D license, there was just a moment with my instructor, and he was a really tough Southern guy, and he was like, I can't let you get away with the low hanging fruit. I can't let you get away with the with just the information that anybody could go and get. Are you looking into this? Are you trying to find the answers for you? Like, are you doing this for you, or are you doing this just to keep going and da, da, da? And then that changed everything for me. I'm like, I need the education. And then I just finished my C license in February, and man, the the things I learned in there are things I'll carry with me for the rest of my career.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Um, I had a question. I forgot my question.
Oh man, I'm sorry about that.
No, no, I guess I'll just skip. 'Cause I had a question. I forgot completely.
Man, I did kind of give a long answer there. So
No, no, it was good. So would you recommend everybody take at least their D license?
Oh yeah, 100%. I would anybody who's gonna be coaching at the competitive travel level, I think needs to do that D license
Okay.
at the very least. Um, I don't think you're prepared without it.
Okay. Okay. You've been talking about you like developing players and when when you got your license, it's helped you help develop your players, right?
Mhm.
What do you mean by this? Developing your players, what do you mean by this?
Um, watching them grow into the game is what I mean by that. And when I say that, because with some players, sometimes I'll have a player that's really, really skillful, and I'm like, there's not much as far as like the fundamentals that I can teach this kid,
Okay.
but does he know how to play in a team? Does he know how to be a leader? Does he know how to uh bring his teammates up with him with his skill level? Or is he one of those guys that's gonna doom us with his ego? So it, I look at development from the holistic point of view. The same way US soccer wants me to, I look at development from the US from the holistic point of view. Okay, this kid is a really good player. He's got really good technique. Can he play in a team? And does he have the mental attributes? So at the end of the season, maybe I'm not gonna see such stark progress in his technique, but maybe you'll see him making more passes to teammates. Maybe you'll see him creating chances, giving up goal not giving up goal, but giving up goal scoring opportunities so that other people can score. Um what kind of character traits is this guy developing? Is he becoming a leader? And I'm using this archetype of player specifically because A, this player was me, and B, I just had this player. He came back to watch his team play yesterday. He came back to watch his play yesterday, and he's one that I if we in the current soccer landscape, the club I'm at,
Hmm.
we're a selling club, right? So I developed him for him to go somewhere else. I don't care if these kids never win a game with me. I want them to get better and get what they want out of the game. So that kid just came back yesterday, and I think just him coming back yesterday is testament to the development he made. Because he was a little showboat like me, but over time throughout the year, he became a better team player. Uh, he learned what it meant to be a leader. You're right. We don't care that you score these goals, man. Are you gonna bring us up or are you gonna bring us down with your attitude on the day?
Yeah.
And that's what development holistically. So yeah, there wasn't much I could teach him about soccer that year, but being a teammate, what it means to be a player in a team, yeah, I can. That's where I can help out.
Okay. Okay. So in terms of development, you're not just talking about give me a quick second, okay?
Mhm.
So in terms of development, you're not just talking about in terms of soccer, but you're talking about the person as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. Like they're young people that we're developing, and the reality is the majority of them are going to they're gonna stop playing competitive soccer after the travel cycle is over. Once they
Okay.
reach U18, U19, um, they're it's just gonna be over. So you're not developing. You can't go into it like, okay, I'm trying to develop future professionals. No, you've got to develop what's in front of you. You've got to look at who is in front of you, um, and how can you best serve this person in the context of being their soccer coach. Like, yeah, I'm your soccer coach, but still, you you can talk to me about what's going on as our coach. I've been feeling a little nervous about auditioning for the school play or something. You should be able to help with that. You should be able to help them overcome performance anxiety and stage fright and things like that. Like we can't just equip ourselves with the oh, I'm gonna teach you how to do step overs and a rabona and a bicycle kick. Like, no, man, you gotta also how do I cope with stress, coach? How do I cope with pressure? I was really nervous about the game this weekend, coach. Like that's a skill that's gonna serve that kid no matter what he does in life. You know,
Mhm.
if he never plays soccer again, if he now knows how to deal with pressure, he could get his family through a tough situation. He can build something meaningful in the future. That's what it's about. It's about the person who's in front of you, not the soccer player.
Okay. So it's not just about, again, the soccer player, but more the person, you know, help him develop as well, get involved. Is that
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And you'll find that if you focus on those things, if you focus on developing the person, it's that enthusiasm, that drive that they get from feeling valued, heard, and understood. Now they go and perform 10 times better, um, or 10 times more intense in training or whatever, and then they develop even more than they would have. So it goes hand in hand with the soccer part. You know,
okay?
it's a win-win.
Okay. So do you go like, because you mentioned play, do you go watch them outside of the soccer game or practice? If they're doing, a tournament for or doing a play, do you go watch them?
I haven't had the opportunity yet. I've been invited to. I've gone to a couple of birthday parties. I've gone to some school soccer games to go and support, but nothing yet outside of the sport. I've had a couple of them like my under 10s when they knew it was my birthday, they sent me videos of them. I have a couple that play the piano and
Oh
they
wow.
they, they
Okay.
played happy birthday for me and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I do definitely take it. I try to take an interest in what they're doing outside of the sport also to that also informs your decisions because you don't want to be going too hard on somebody who's got three different activities in 1 week, like that
Okay.
cognitive overload. That's another thing that recently I've become aware of.
Can you explain this? What is this?
So when you give too much information,
Hmm.
either all at once or just in general, if you're giving too much information, so you got to understand when a kid is coming to soccer practice, uh, they just had 6, 7 classes in a day. So my
Hmm.
U17s had 6, 7 classes in one day. My U10s just sat in the same classroom for 7 hours a day. Um, and they learned. They had to take in information. They had to take in the math lesson for the day, or the reading, or the spelling test. Then they had their social interactions at school, which may or may not have caused a little bit of stress for them, may have been overwhelming or not. And then they come to practice, and here you are, run, shoot, press, this, that. You're talking too much. You're giving them too much to think about, and then ultimately nothing sticks. Nothing
Okay.
sticks from that day. The schoolwork, the soccer, the nothing sticks. So you got to be aware of not giving too much information and not like overloading them.
Okay. As soccer coaches, we sometimes we overload them with information. So how would you go about not giving them too much information?
One thing I've recently tried to do is especially so when it comes to my team talks for games, I've finally simplified it to just 3 points. I keep it to 3 points. One thing on the ball, one thing off the ball, one thing psychological or mental. Um, and you keep it short and sweet, right? You just give your points. You don't say this person isn't doing that, that person isn't doing this. Just say we as a team,
Hmm.
this is our idea of what we want to do on the ball. This is what we want to do off the ball. This is what we want to be psychologically. Um, oh, I just lost something too. But and for training sessions, what helps me with this in training sessions is you write down your coaching points. Just write down. You've got to be detailed with what it is that you want to teach. So you don't want to try and teach an offensive topic and a defensive topic. You've got to stick to one one thing, like really one main term. So let's call it an attacking session,
Hmm.
and then you want to start working on attacking in your own defensive third, like building out of the back.
Okay.
So first you got to work on the shape, and then maybe you have to take the whole day to work on the shape, but you've got to go into the details of what does it mean to make shape. So whether it's height, depth, and width, whether it's running behind making a run behind the defensive line, we've got to create our attacking shape first. And so you write down, you know, the three things that's gonna make that happen. And then you only go and coach for those three things. You're not coaching, oh, but you're not scanning when you're doing this, and you're not that. No, you're only coaching the three things that you came out there to work on. And
Okay.
it keeps you from this word vomit and this just talking and talking and talking. Cause I can't tell you how many times I caught myself last year just
Yeah.
talking. I'm like, what am I even talking about right now? Like, and then I just stop. I'm just like, all right, guys, go back to playing. And then it's like that. The less I can do that, the more effective I'm being as a coach. Right.
Okay.
The less that I have to just stop myself, the more effective I can be as a coach. So yeah, writing things down for sure is a huge thing.
Okay. So be specific about what you're gonna say, you know. Um, and then there was another
And
one.
commit to it.
Okay.
Really commit to your session plan. Don't go out there and don't go out there with one idea in your mind and then be like and then get inspired by something you saw on LinkedIn or inspired by something that another coach is doing and say, "Oh, I'm gonna steal this right now." No, stick to your plan. Uh, and try to write down what you can. Writing
Okay.
down things is like the way you are able to recall things to memory just off of writing it down. That helps so much with the coaching points, man. That's been one of my biggest tools.
That's your biggest. Okay. You recommend people, new coaches, to do the coaching point the most?
Coaching points, but the coaching points specifically, but writing it down, like writing it with a pen and paper, like
Okay.
like I still use sports session planner. I use the diagram and all of that, but I do think that there's a value in just writing things, writing things
Okay.
down with a pen and paper, and it sticks, it sticks to your mind.
Right. Right. Yeah. No. Sometimes when you have it just on your mind, you forget completely. It's always better have it write it down.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What has been the most memorable experience you've had as coaching in your coaching experience?
Hmm. Oh, so when I was taking my C license, I was lucky enough to take it locally, like right around the corner. And my old club that I used to play for
Hmm.
hosted it. So
Oh.
we were, and this was just in this past February. So we were at the field, we were coaching a U17 group of kids, and it was like they're like the number three team in the state, right? Where the it was that team was number three in the U17 division, and those were the players that we had to do our demonstrations with. And then one of these kids just randomly starts walking towards me. I'm just like, who is this guy? I said, hello, how are you doing? And he said, Coach Nick, you remember me? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's you. That's a kid named Nick, coincidentally. He's like, Nick, that's you. And it was a kid that I coached maybe the second year that I ever coached. And
Wow.
here he was on the number one or number three team in Florida. Uh Here in front of all my peers, like he comes and calls me out in front of all my C license peers, and they're like, and the whole time they were in awe of this team, like watching these kids play. They're like, wow, what a great team. And it's like, oh, you know this one? That's your boy. It's like, yeah, that's my boy. And that I think that was my proudest moment so far.
Okay. That's really
It seemed
cool.
it seemed that he
Hmm.
he kept going from rec because I had him in recreational,
Hmm.
and it was like 7 years ago.
Wow.
Uh, and actually, he's a kid that I always reference him when I talk about my coaching because the year that Mbappe played for Monaco in the Champions League, that was the year I coached him. The first year I coached him.
Hmm.
So I was like, hey, watch this guy play and try and do as much of what you see him do. Let's try and copy Mbappe. That's why I would tell the like the 9 year old. I'm like, go find a favorite player. You don't have a favorite player, go find one. And so I was like, hey, I think this guy should be your favorite player. And I remember that was 2017, 2016. I don't know. But a couple years later after that, the kid's mom texts me randomly
Hmm.
while Mbappe is there winning the World Cup. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you showed us Mbappe, and he's been our guy ever since. Like, this is so crazy." Da, da, da. Like that kind of thing. Like those are the kinds of things that stick in my mind because I've won a few rec trophies. I've made a couple of travel finals, but that's the kind of that's the stuff that makes me happy.
Okay. Had you seen him before this encounter, or you haven't seen him?
Not in a long time, not in a very very long time. So it was really really nice to it was a pleasant surprise.
So the impact you had on his life, not just as a player, but to remember you after all these years you had not seen him. That's incredible. I think that's a job as a coach that we have to be inspiring to do.
Absolutely, that it's why it was my proudest moment, man. Like it's easy for me to recount that as one of my proudest moments because the game is the game, but once you can make an impact outside the field and when you can actually see that impact, it really is a great feeling. Like nothing beats that.
No, I agree with you. To have that impact after so many years, not seeing them and still recognize you, like, hey, you know, that's incredible.
Yeah, 'cause I know a lot of coaches. If I saw them in the supermarket, I'm gonna keep walking.
Like, I don't see you.
Yep, I'll just pretend I didn't see you there.
I know you have your C license. Are you gonna keep going with your licenses, or you gonna stay here with you are?
Oh no, I'm definitely gonna keep going. I I think I can apply after February, so that I'll probably start my next one either in July if I don't feel too tired from the season, or in January
Okay.
when the next round of courses comes around.
So that's like 3 months.
No, the following January, because you have to have your C license for a full year, and they gave me mine in February. So
This February coming
when
up.
yeah, this past February is when I got my C license. So
Yeah.
the February coming up will make 1 year.
Hmm.
So, but you got to sign up for the newer ones by January. Like
Oh,
that's when they
okay.
release the courses. So I'm not gonna make this
Oh,
January
okay,
round,
okay,
which
okay,
is
okay.
ultimately that's for the best because also that a lot of people underestimate the stress that you're put under
Hmm.
when you take those courses in the middle of the season. So like my best friend who's also a coach, he's just now taking his C license in the middle of his season and things not going good on the field for him right now. And I was telling him before it even started, I said, man, you gotta find a way to regulate, man. You gotta find a way to chill out because that course is gonna beat you up.
Right. Okay.
It's pretty demanding. The A lot of it is just time consuming, really. But him, he's got a 9 to 5. Then he goes to practice, and then he's got to come do the coursework. So I
It's quite
really
a
feel
bit.
for him. Yeah, yeah, it's a lot to take on in the middle of the season,
Yeah, I remember my brother
but it's
was
worth
taking
it.
it. Is it
Oh, for sure.
so much? You learn so much from there, or
Things that I'll never forget, man. Um, like the granular detail that they want you to go into. Like they have a whole document that I forget how long they said it took them to make it. The player development framework. They said it took them 6 years or something like that to develop it.
Wow.
And when you look at that player development framework, like it tells you it breaks the game down into its absolute simplest form. And it helps you build your coaching points, build your training sessions based off of this player development framework. And I just started like going back to it, like going right back into the player development framework and designing my sessions just based off of that. Like, coming up with, what did we not do well in the game? Okay, cool. Translate that into what phase of the game was it? And it being one of the four phases of the game: offense, defense, defensive transition, offensive transition. Then it goes even more into detail. It'll break attacking into six topics, and it'll break those six topics down into um even more subtopics and break those down into player action. So you go right down into the most granular detail, and it's beautiful. I love it, and that that's one of the things I've got to keep advancing as a coach. Because if at the C license level, this is what they're showing us, like there's definitely more behind the B license and the A license. Like I'm excited to see what it all has in store.
Okay. Yeah, no, I gotta take my C license as well. But yeah, thank you for um giving the
Yeah, for
tips, I
sure,
guess,
man.
sharing
Yeah, for
that
sure.
with me. The World Cup is gonna be here in 2026, right?
Yes.
How do you see that doing to the landscape, the soccer landscape here in the United States?
I'm hoping for a big boom. Hoping for a big boom from a coaching standpoint, a refereeing standpoint, a playing standpoint. Um, the economic is gonna come with it for sure. But as far as like what can the biggest World Cup of all time, do for our country here in America? What can it do for, as far as inspiring the next generations, like the next
Hmm.
generation of players, refs, coaches, like that's what I'm really excited to see. I'm excited to see 5 years down the line, like, are we rebuilding some of these clubs that we had here? Because like the club I used to play for when I was a kid, we used to have 52 teams, like
Okay.
like boys and girls, 52 teams in total. Now they've got like 20 or 23 or
Wow.
something. And it's like the interest for the game, it's not going down. I don't think the interest for the game is going down, because if you look around, more and more people are watching soccer, are playing soccer. Well, I wouldn't say playing, but more and more people are watching, playing FIFA, uh, investing in the culture, wearing jerseys,
Hmm.
but it's not being reflected in our travel team. It's
Okay.
not being reflected in grassroots soccer. So I'm hoping that the biggest impact is going to be with, registration numbers. Like we're going to get more and more kids trying out and playing soccer. Like
Okay.
that's my biggest wish for the World Cup.
Do you think that pay to play, and it's expensive, soccer is expensive? Do you think that's why a lot of people are not uh registering like you say?
Definitely for the travel level, yeah. Um, I have a huge problem with the pricing. I hate to see it. I can't tell you how many people they come and try out for my team, and then we send them the registration email, and it
Hmm.
shows them the prices, and then I never see the kid again.
Right.
You know, it's because and a lot of them are kids whose parents come from different countries, so
Hmm.
they don't know that when they come here that you're paying us to play. We're not giving you a free jersey. We're not giving you a even a bus token to get to training or anything like that. You're paying us to say that you're part of our club.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, and someone like me, like, I'm a young guy, so it's like I have my heart bigger than my brain. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could help everybody. But I'm starting to, assimilate into our product is our product. We've got to sell what we're selling. And I just try and give the best value for money.
Okay.
Like I try to I do my best every chance I get. That's one thing nobody can take away from me. I'm gonna do my absolute best. I've done the education, right? So I'm educated. I know what I'm doing. So you can trust that, you know, some thought is going into, your child's training. And then um, we've got the cameras, but it's just trying to create experiences for the kids that ultimately they're not turning around and saying, what was this $1,000 for? Like
Right.
that's where I'm at with it now. Being part of the problem. So
Okay. Yeah, yeah. What changes would you like to see in the grassroots in the youth soccer?
the ones I'd like to see, I'd really just like to see, be about the game. But there's money to be made. There's money to be made. So there's no way we're just gonna start giving out uh, you know, jerseys and jackets to a kid who just because we think he might be the next Messi, and what if that
Mhm.
investment doesn't pay off? There's so many holes that U.S. soccer is able to cut into that argument that we should stop the pay to play. Um, it'll never happen. Honestly, I don't think I truly don't think it will ever happen. But I don't think it's gonna be this bad forever.
Okay.
I don't think it's gonna be so expensive to sign yourself up for a travel team 10 years from now.
You don't
Again,
think so?
wishful thinking. No,
Right. Okay.
I think too many people are pissed off.
Yeah. Almost every person that I've interviewed had a conversation on here, most of them said they don't like that pay to play. You know, they're
Yeah,
against it.
I think it goes against. I mean, it goes against all the guys we know and love and watch on television. Like these guys did not pay to play. Like these guys, they played all day, all night with their friends at the club. Uh, and now they're making millions of dollars as some of the best players in the world. Um, this whole obsession with, and I wouldn't even call it an obsession. It's just how the world works. It's
Okay.
just it's just that capitalist world bleeding into football, and
Yeah. Yeah. And it
it's
hurts
just
the
a part
sport.
of everything. Yeah, it definitely does. I'm I'm not opposed to the money being thrown around. I'm opposed to the idea that you're paying me to take advantage of your skill.
Okay.
You're paying me to take advantage of your passion and,
Right.
and what you're good at. So there's a lot of things that's wrong about it. But
Yeah.
I truly don't think will ever completely move away from pay to play.
You don't think it will? You think it'll
No.
always be
Mm,
here?
yeah, for sure.
Okay. How important do you think it is for like in for young players to do like pickup games? Like they do like in Brazil, like you said, in other countries that's all they do, just play soccer in the streets. How important do you think that is for our youth to do that?
Extremely, because as a coach, you can only recreate so many environments. You can only recreate so many situations. What about the ones you can't recreate? Or
Hmm.
what about the ones that you're never going to get a chance to recreate? I think the more a kid is just exposed to the ball rolling, the ball is rolling, I'm playing, I'm defending, the ball is on the right side, I'm on the left. The ball's on the left side, I'm on the right. The ball's in the middle, or the ball's in the back, I'm at the front. The ball's at the front, I'm at the back. It's there's so many moving pieces to the game of football. I don't think as a coach you can touch all of them. Um, as a youth coach, you can't touch all of them, and I think the more exposure that they get to a rolling ball, the better.
Okay. Plus the creativity, in a soccer game, you're structured to do some. The left wing can't go all the way to right, whereas
Right?
pickup, you're able to just run, be free with the ball.
Yeah, yeah, yep. That's I tell my kids, I say, you guys got to find somewhere where you just go and play with no rules. Because I still play pickup on Sundays, on some Sundays with my friend and a couple of guys that we know.
Hmm.
Um, it's just it's the most fun I have all week.
Right.
I look forward to it. When I come off the field, it's like I feel like I'm glowing, like I had the best day ever. Um, I love that. I love playing the game with just that freedom, because the game is so structured now and methodical, and yeah, just you just want to break away for some fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree completely. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
5 years, hopefully, I'd like to be at least a semi-professional. I'd like to be coaching semi-professional,
Okay,
or or like USL level.
okay.
Um, but USL or definitely college. I'm trying to make the next step. My end goal with coaching is ultimately to I would like to move into the professional game in whatever capacity I can. But I'm a big dreamer. As I sit before you today, I'm gonna sit here and tell you I think I'm gonna make it to the Premier League.
Oh, okay. Wow,
That's the
okay.
dream. I feel I've started early enough. I feel motivated and energetic enough to keep working, keep going. Um, that's the end goal. I'm really trying to make it to the Premier League.
Wow, that's a big
But
dream
in
right
five
there.
years, yeah, but in 5 years, I'm trying to be USL or college level.
Okay. Is there a team in specific in Premier League? Manchester United?
And anybody but Manchester United.
Not Manchester United?
No, I couldn't. I
Why?
couldn't. I always said, if like as a kid, if I played, I would never want to play there. I'd never want to play for that club. I love it too much to it's like it's like if your mom have a real nice vase in the house,
Hmm.
and it's just so beautiful. You don't want to touch it. I don't want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
touch it because it's so beautiful. I don't want to mess it. I don't want. It's not gonna be me that messes it up.
yeah,
That's how
yeah.
I look at it. I'm not gonna be the one. So I would never coach Manchester United. It's just something I'm gonna look at and admire and be in love with from afar.
See, I understand that. When I play FIFA, like on my PlayStation, I'm a Madrid fan, and I can't coach them like on FIFA because I'm not doing
Yeah,
justice to them. Like I don't know
yeah,
who
I
I'm
know
gonna
that.
bring in. I can't. No, I'm gonna stay away from them. I'll watch you from afar. I love you from
Yeah,
afar, but I can't.
I'm so like that when it comes to Manchester United on FIFA. It's like I almost won't use them. I'm just like, ugh, like it's hilarious.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
exactly how I feel about it. Yeah. Uh, but like maybe honestly, as far I really like Brentford as a club.
Okay.
Like Brentford is it's a really cool club. I listened to this podcast. I don't know if you heard of it, the High Performance Podcast.
I haven't heard it. Mm-mm.
Well, their chairman, the Brentford chairman, went on that podcast, and he was, talking about how they do things, and that's a club I'd like to be a part of. They're a really progressive club. I have a relative who's married to one of his assistants, one of Thomas Frank's assistants, Justin Cochran.
Oh wow.
Justin Cochran he was the FA Youth Cup winning coach at Manchester United when Garnacho was on the team.
Isn't
So
he Garnacho?
yeah, he trained Garnacho when Garnacho was in the youth team.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Because I was gonna say, isn't he in the first team right now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Oh, okay,
so
okay, okay, okay.
that first season when I think it was Ten Hag's first season. That the first year, when Ronaldo was beefing with Eric Ten Hag and whatever.
Oh,
Um,
okay, yeah.
yeah. So that year he coached Manchester United to winning the FA Youth Cup. And I found out he's married to one of my aunts. So
Oh, wow. So
yeah. So I'm glad. I'm
you kind of have
a little bit of a
there.
connection.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Okay, that's
hopefully
cool.
one day
That's
I get
cool.
to make that step. Yeah.
All right, that's cool. What advice would you give someone a new coach?
Uh, do the education. Do the education and adapt your style from there. Like start from an informed, passionate place.
Okay.
If I could keep it short, start from an informed, passionate place and then go from there.
Okay. So, like you said, take your license before you go into coaching.
No, not even. I would say be like be passionate about it. If you want to coach,
Hmm.
then you should do it. Be informed because you don't want to hinder these people in the future, right?
Okay.
They're here learning from you because they don't know any better. You don't
Okay.
want to give them the wrong information. So that's another thing that I would hope all coaches take into consideration.
Okay. Where can people follow you or know more about you, Coach Nicholas?
Right now I am only on LinkedIn. I don't have much to offer outside of my insights on football at the
Okay.
moment. So LinkedIn is where you can find me.
Okay. And we'll put it on the show notes. This way they'll be able to follow you on there. Any last oh, what legacy do you hope to leave behind for your soccer community and your soccer players and your soccer in the community as well?
Uh, I just want to be known as a guy who gave his all for his players, and hopefully that they would feel the same way about me.
Okay.
That's all I can ask for in this sport.
Okay. Any last remarks or advice you would want to give?
Um, no man, I love what you're doing, man, and please keep doing it.
Thank you. The last couple of questions I got for you, they're just silly. Okay.
Yep,
In your expert opinion, do you think a team of penguins will perform better in defense or attack?
defense.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they huddle, they get tight and compact. You're not getting through.
What formation would you use?
3-4-2-1, the Christmas tree.
Oh, okay. If you could trade all your soccer achievements for the ability to speak to squirrels, would you do it?
No,
No? Okay.
no. Squirrels have nothing to offer me.
What's your approach to coaching a team of ghosts?
Team of ghosts.
Hmm.
Ooh. Uh, don't bore them with the team talk.
Don't what?
I don't bore them with my team talk.
Oh, okay.
Try and keep them as inspired looking as possible.
If you had to coach a game in zero gravity, how would you train your players to handle it?
Uh, Route one football. Send it long to the striker. Play with the ball in the air.
Okay. What's a secret talent that even you don't know about?
A secret talent.
Hmm. That even you don't know about.
I don't know, man. I think me even thinking so hard about that question is a talent right there.
Okay.
That one got me.
And the last one is, how would you adapt your game plan if the referee was a time traveling wizard?
Ooh, I would be. very, very quiet because I'm normally not very quiet with the referees. And if they know
Okay.
anything about me, I'm gonna try and pull a fast one on them and be completely different.
Okay, that'll work. That's all the questions I got. Thank you so much for coming on here, Coach Nicholas.
Thank you so much, Eduardo. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget the Field Scientific Conversations. We'll be back.
Listeners tuning in deep like a sea. From the pitch to the mic, we share our dreams.